Fight for the future is now. This is the War Room with Owen Schroyer.
What about Owen Schroyer? When I call your name, don't forget to unmute. Owen Schroyer.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
I hope y'all are having fun playing tyrants up here. The disregard that this city council has for its citizens is obvious and concerning. And this wannabe authoritarian Mr. Ascot and his totalitarian rhetoric is quite frankly offensive. But this mask mandate, which is not legal, first we're told by the Surgeon General not to wear masks. We're told by Fauci not to wear masks. We're told by the CDC not to wear masks. They even had this on their website. What happened to that? The mask does not even stop COVID. That's science. So why are you telling us to wear it? The boxes that the masks come in say it does not stop COVID. Why are you telling us to wear it? In fact, the mask has negative health effects. Bacteria grows on the mask. You breathe in toxic levels of carbon dioxide when you wear the mask. For the sake of time, I'll spare you the details, but you can find this. It's out there. It's very well known. Now, first, when we had to shut down months ago and stay home, what were we told? Oh, this is a deadly virus. We need to stay home. Well, we now know that it's less deadly by the numbers than the seasonal flu. And how is Ascot earlier saying that we just ignore the math? Oh, the math doesn't matter. What is this, 1984? No, the math does matter. This is not that deadly. The numbers were wrong. This is as bad as the seasonal flu. So everything we're talking about should be null and void right now. Should we be shutting down and treating life this way for the seasonal flu every year? Have we been living wrong the whole time? Is this the new normal? And this whole thing about cases being up, well, why are cases up? Because everyone's getting tested. This is common sense. You could test everyone in the city for herpes, and herpes cases would be going up as well. Would you have a national shutdown and tell people to stop kissing and going out? And by the way, the tests are not even 100% accurate. That is also known. So who knows what the real numbers really are?
Thank you very much.
So that was me at a digital city hall today. Here was Savannah Hernandez at a Blue Lives Matter rally last night.
I hope you get deported. That's amazing.
This is a public street, and I have a right to stand here and give my message. I have a right to this? Yeah, all the way out that street. All the way out that street. There it is. Now, I have a right to stand here. Don't touch me.
Okay, Joe, you're pushing on. You just touched him. You just touched him.
You guys, you can only go on the street.
You're touching her.
You know what? No, you don't think you can bully me off this street? Hell no. You just touched me. Please, guys, matter. You know what?
David Dorn. David Dorn.
Bullying, I'm done with it. Yeah, you're only that street.
David Dorn. David Dorn. David Dorn.
Okay. I'm done with Black Lives Matter. People acting like that.
I want everybody away from the people that do Black Lives. That's not enough. Everybody move away now.
Y'all came up to me as per usual. So back up.
I want everybody to stop this and to move
matter.
away.
Black police lives matter. So shame on you.
Okay, let's move over this way. All right?
Yeah, back up. There won't be any problems. Stop
Okay,
trying to
yeah,
block my
yeah. Look.
sign.
That full video is at band.video, and Savannah Hernandez will be on the Alex Jones Show tomorrow. It is July 9th on this Thursday in the year 2020, and I'm very pleased. I'm very happy. I'm jubilant right now that Dan Lyman is sitting to my right. And the reason that is, Dan Lyman got hired pretty much right around the same time, I guess, I got hired in 2016. Dan and I met at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. We've both been working here at InfoWars ever since.
Let both of those sink in,
Not just great
fellas.
to see Dan again as a friend, but it always reminds me of how far InfoWars has come in just 4 short years, despite all the censorship, the lies, the attacks. And so while we're dealing with just those things every day, Dan kind of represents the success we've had whenever I see him, and I remember about the work.
Dan's a good man. Owen's a good man.
So Dan, great to have you in studio today. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do kind of an old school talk radio where we're gonna just go through some headlines, get your take, because I got Tom Pappert coming on in the next hour, and then Brandon Gray in studio as well. So a lot of guests and a lot of headlines to cover. But you just had a long trip during the fake pandemic. Is there anything you'd like to report here? Is there anything you want to get off your chest before we get into the news?
I would say to anyone thinking about flying right now, as long as you're not skittish about the coronavirus crisis, I would say now is a great time to fly. The prices are good, the planes are very clean, and the service is great, and not too many people on the planes, not the ones that I've been on. So I would say if you're looking to travel, now might be the time, as long as your destination has restaurants and places open that you can go to.
Yeah, as long as you can figure out, okay, where do I have to wear the mask? Where can I go eat? All that stuff. But yeah, prices, travel, everything is down. And who knows, they may just completely shut down travel before the end of the year. We're already seeing some signs of that. So
They definitely will.
all right. Well, now, I've got a ton of news developing here in America. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to cover about what's going on in Europe before we get onto that you're covering over at InfoWars Europe.
Sure. I can kind of contrast what my experience has been so far in Europe and what it has been since I got back here. And it is, of course, different in every European country. It varies. But at least in Switzerland, we've had a pretty good run of things, all things considered, being that in other countries, in France and in Spain, they're much stricter. Until very recently in Switzerland, there was no mask mandates. That was all optional. Some stores could make you if they wanted to. But we never had a stay-at-home order. Which was also nice. They recommended that you stay at home if you didn't need to be out, but there was no order to be at home. So in general, things have been a little bit more lax, and thankfully that's been the case throughout since the beginning. And things have really tapered off there in terms of all the number of cases and all that. Contrast that with now arriving here in the U.S., and I feel like it's obviously is a completely different country than the one that I left last year, the most recent time that I was here. And things have changed a lot here, and obviously on a state-by-state basis, things are different. I am amazed at the amount of compliance here in Texas with these mask rules and all these lockdown orders and all that. You would think that Texas would be the place where people might stand up against those sorts of things, but I'm not seeing enough of that here, although I am seeing it from my colleagues, which I'm really proud to work with great people like Savannah and Owen, who really are taking a stand for liberty at this point in the state of Texas and the country at large.
It is amazing how we don't have more numbers. It always kind of baffles me, and I think that there are legitimate reasons. People have, typically conservatives tend to have families, they tend to have jobs, and they just don't tend to be attracted to a protest or a rally or stuff like that, and they don't get the amplification of mainstream media, Hollywood, and news. So I think that once it's gotten so bad, maybe Texans will get active, but man, let me tell you, if you would have seen what happened at this digital city council today, I mean, I was sick. In fact, if it wasn't for you being in studio, I'd probably be throwing papers, ripping things, bashing the microphone, screaming and yelling like a banshee. And I'm going to get more into this when Brandon Gray comes on in the third hour. But they tell us, okay, this is a whole digital thing they're doing because of COVID. They say, oh, call in at 10:30. And or in between 10:30 and 11, and then 11 we're going to start the speaking portion. I was on hold for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. They made me and other Texans wait while we're getting lectured by some Mr. Ascot. I'm not even going to call him a doctor or by his real name. And they're telling us why we need to wear masks, why the spread is so bad. They have like all this stuff scripted out, and And everybody, meanwhile, that's waiting is like, yeah, hey, we disagree with all this. So it's like they don't even care. I mean, the city council, they literally do not even care what the citizens have to say. They cut our time from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. I mean, so even when, and I think that's another thing, Dan, even when people get involved with local city council or local government, or even, heck, I got involved with the Republican Party, they sloughed me off, shoved me aside, kicked me out. I mean, they just feel like they have no home. An American patriot has no home in any of this modern-day political world. The Republicans don't want them. The Democrats certainly don't want them. And if you try to make a move or make a statement, you just get sloughed off and censored.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's funny. I've been in that situation
Fired from your fucking job.
in the U.S. where you're confronting the city councilors about terrible policy, and it can be intimidating as just a layman, essentially standing up to the machine. However, being confronted face to face for these people is uncomfortable for them as well, because they have to sit through it and they have to face the raw anger and the frustrations of their constituents. Now that they get to hide behind computer screens and not even have to see you, essentially, if they don't want to, I think that even removes them even further from their duties and their obligation to work for the constituents instead of against them. And I think it's a really troubling turn of events for the way that local government is, going to be responding to their local citizens.
And they have, obviously, they pick, and somebody said this yesterday, and we were talking about it on the broadcast. They pick, the Democrats, pick whoever they can handpick to come on and say the message they want. So they get this guy to come on there and say, oh, you need to wear a mask. He literally said, I mean, we could comb through the whole, 5-hour city council thing. But he literally cites the numbers that show that the mortality rate is less than 0.1%. And he says, well, we can't let these numbers deceive us. This is still as deadly as it ever was. And I'm like, that is as Orwellian as it gets. That is as Nazi Hitlerian as it gets. You're literally telling me 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5, ignore the facts, and just do as I say. I mean, that was scary to me. And it was that for 3 hours. I'm just sitting there like, okay, I got to figure out how to get all this frustration out in 2 minutes, but also be, eloquent and coherent. Then they blow my sound up so you can't even hear it. But it's just, I don't know, Dan. I mean, I believe America can come out of this. I'm just not sure if we've accurately measured how strong the shackles on us really are.
I think you're totally right. I think that we have underestimated the will of the American people. There seems to be less of it than we might have hoped, and also we have also underestimated the power of the machine. So it's really an eye opener. I mean, Corona, this whole crisis, this pandemic, has really shown light on a lot of different things for the better or for the worse.
All right, when we come back, we're going to get into all these headlines with Dan, just kind of old school talk radio style. Folks, all of it is possible. When I got hired by InfoWars in 2016, when Dan got hired by InfoWars in 2016, it's all made possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, look at all the great work Dan is doing. Look at all the things we're doing here on the War Room with my reports out on the street. Again, it's all possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. The July 4th super sale, ladies and gentlemen, maybe a day or two left on this sale. That's free shipping store-wide. Free shipping store-wide. I urge you, you want to take advantage of the free shipping, get the emergency food, get the air filters, get the water filters. These are heavier items. They're expensive to ship. We're still covering those costs right now, part of the extended July 4th sale. So get over to InfoWarsStore.com, and I have a aching suspicion, and we're kind of seeing it with our sales. The emergency food sales are going to have another boom really soon. So you want to get in and get your emergency food before the second rush hits, when they plan to shut everything down again. And, who knows what happens to the supply line at that point. But get your emergency food now. Free shipping, InfoWarsStore.com. Dan Lyman is with me in studio for the hour. There's so much we can talk about here. Just in the break, we're kind of riffing back and forth about what's going on in America, what's going on in Europe with COVID. Dan is living in Switzerland, and I was saying, what's it like in Switzerland? And he's saying, oh, it's not that bad, but, now it's kind of starting to get worse with some stuff. And we were talking about how, and it all seems so by design. It's so evil genius, right? It's so diabolical in its execution and its totalitarianism that it has to be orchestrated. And I think we know that with the whatever that event 201 was called, and then the war games and everything. But you were talking about how, okay, they give a little and then they take a little bit more. They give a little bit more and then they take a little bit more. And the example I was using was, yeah, okay, they say, oh, you can reopen, but then they test everybody to go back to work, and then the test cases go up. Or as you were saying, Dan, okay, you go out to a protest, or they orchestrate protests across the nation, and then they get the spike that they want, and then they can blame whoever they want. It doesn't matter who's protesting, who's not, who's going out to lunch, who's not. They just blame whoever they want. So that's just another level when I'm observing this that just shows this is so well orchestrated, so well planned. I think a lot of people are seeing that. They just don't even know what to do about it. They're just overwhelmed with it, and they just comply.
Yeah, one of the things that I've kind of noticed is that the way that things keep changing and evolving. You know, every state changes the rule, and then there's a new rule tomorrow, and they take a rule away. It's keeping everyone on their toes in a way, and really, in my mind, it's creating like a mania. Just where everyone is focused on, you know, you're always thinking about what's the new rule? Where do I have to put the mask on? Where do I have to take it off? I'm not used to keeping a mask on me all the time. So yesterday, we're going out to a restaurant, and I'm going, oh, I forgot my mask in the other shorts, and then someone's got to find me a mask, and I feel like I already feel like I'm going crazy, dwelling on all of these things.
Yeah, it's like an old guy, like a Joe Biden goes out, forgets to put on his trousers or something,
Yeah, exactly. And then, you're at the table at the restaurant and you say I have to use the bathroom, but then you have to put the mask on. I think this is going to exacerbate insanity, even small molecules of insanity that are in all of us. It's going to make us all go crazier. And I've noticed that a lot of the people who maybe have had a proclivity towards being, a bit towards the mania side of things are getting crazier. And you see like crazy looks on people's faces too, with driving around with the masks on, and they're the only person in the car, and they look like, a little like halfway that they're not there. I think this is just going to bring out the worst and magnify the worst in a lot of people.
And that's something too that you don't want to dehumanize people, right? Because you never want to be a part of that whole cult. But it does seem like a thing, like you look into their eyes, it's like they're not even there. It's like they're giving over to something less. And, actually, I was thinking about this exact issue. Because yesterday at the protest that Savannah hosted, I was actually pleasantly surprised. We were able to have some good conversations. Now, there were obviously your typical crazies. We'll play some of that. And then your typical Antifa types that tried to stop conversations from happening. But there were actually some decent conversations. But it's like the same thing goes with a mask, because they say, oh, how do you identify the enemy, right? Well, you could, like, we can try to, like, okay, I'm thinking, how could I take over one of their events, right? Like, I could go and say, yeah, Black Lives Matter, here's what we should do. And I could say everything that they want me to say. I could say everything that's their message, and I could even be fully on board, but they would still know I'm not one of them by looking in my eyes. They would still know I'm not one of them by seeing my spirit, by seeing my soul. It's like, it's this weird metaphysical thing that we still have innately, intuitively, to recognize somebody's spirit and soul. You can't see it, but you can feel it. So, like, you could go into one of these things. It's like, I don't even have to say anything. I just walk up to one of these events. I don't have a mag hat. And it's just it's just like, ah. And it's just because you have a spirit of God. You have a spirit of humanity. You have a spirit of confidence. And it's everything they hate, everything they lack, and they can recognize that. So even if you wanted to be a leader of their movement or try to help them, they would just reject you because you have everything that they lack, and that's why they're really, I think, so miserable.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to the fact that this is a spiritual battle. At the root of all of it, the cultural battle, the political battle, it is at its very root a spiritual battle. And as time has progressed over in recent years, especially things really sped up during the 2016 election, a lot of people who maybe were flying under the radar, or maybe we're even more outspoken, let's say, as time has gone on, it's the walls have closed in where you couldn't wear the MAGA hat. Then you couldn't be an open Trump supporter. Then you couldn't even be on the fence anymore about certain issues. And now we're at the point where if you don't post the black square on Instagram, if you're not wearing the mask in public, you're identifying yourself as a dissident at that point, and you're not even actively participating. It's because you're not actively participating, and the people that are going along with this agenda, they sense that, and it creates this mob mentality where they're attacking the one person in the store that's not wearing a mask, or they're attacking, ganging up on the high school friend that didn't post a black square. So at this point, they can sense when you're not on board with all this just by the fact that you're not participating with them.
And it's all an attack on success, an attack on beauty, an attack on confidence. It's like the same reason why when Savannah goes out, the main attack she falls under are Latina girls. And I think it's just the same thing. It's like, hey, they want to tear down people that have been successful in business. They want to tear down people that have, raised a family or whatever. It's like a conquering thing for them. And so they go out and attack Savannah. They're like, oh, here's another Latina girl. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to conquer her. I'm going to make her submit, and then I'm going to get her on my side. And when they can't have that victory, they just go into fits of rage.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more of these fits of rage. It's really disturbing.
Did you see how Savannah hip checked the shit out of that bitch?
Maybe never had thought.
I think I'm in love.
It's turning a lot of people, like I said, a little bit on the crazy side, and also people who are already had a proclivity towards that, making them more violent. And I think that that's just doesn't bode well for the future of dialogue and the future of culture in the United States and the West in general. So it is a troubling turn of events.
Well, and that was the thing, again, like yesterday, there were actually some decent conversations that happened. And it was like the first time for a while that I've ever been able to actually have a debate with somebody in the street that didn't get out of control or violent. And we were able to have a couple of those. But again, it's like there's always somebody that wants to end that. There's always somebody that wants to come and stop that, because it's not about dialogue. It's not about coming together. It's about them having their totalitarianism ideological victory over you in every arena. They want it in sports. They want it in pop culture. They want it everywhere. They want it in politics. And so it's now or never, Dan. I mean, really, it really is now or never. Americans either are going to stand, and the statues are kind of just like, the monuments are kind of just like a physical representation. I mean, okay, they tear some statues down. It's just a statue. But what does it actually represent? It represents, are we going to let these people destroy America and run this country into the ground, or are we going to stand up for it?
That's a good question. That does remain to be seen. And yeah, like you said, the statues, I mean, all in all, I'm not a huge statue guy. I don't really, frankly, care about them too much, but they do symbolize, our history, and they are symbolic of our history. And I see no reason for any of them to come down, any of them really. And, the way it just, you can sense that it is an attack, an assault on our history and the roots of Western civilization at this point is what it boils down to.
All right, Dan. Now, I have to ask you a question before we go to break. Do you know you're a turtle?
Unaware.
Now, see, guys, this is the problem. This is the biggest problem. You don't even realize you're a turtle. All right? Now, that's not a joke. You can smile and snicker and sneer there, and you're listening.
I ain't no motherfucking turtle, bitch.
You better get this quick. You're a turtle, too. So you better learn about being a turtle real quick. Now, this is Turtle Island.
I'm a shark.
And that is Rob Dew in his natural habitat.
I'm not a wolf. I'm a shark.
This may not make sense to you, so we're going to clarify some things. Yesterday at the Police Lives Matter rally organized by Savannah Hernandez, which was then, you could probably say, overtaken by Black Lives Matter protest, but that's fine. One protester, though, wanted to let us know about our true history, and that is we are all turtles. Here it is.
You want. You standing on Turtle Island, big man. I don't. Is it? Or is the problem that you don't know you're a turtle and you think there's sides here? I know my history. What is your history?
You don't know you're a turtle.
Is it Turtle Island?
It appears that this guy is mentally ill.
Let me show you your history.
You are a turtle. Okay.
Mental illness runs in the single mother raised families. It sure does.
You didn't realize you were a turtle. Hey, we need to isolate that clip out. He's like, you know what the problem is? You don't know you're a turtle. We need to isolate that out. So there you go, Dan. You don't know you're a turtle. You didn't know that.
But now I know.
You're not a turtle in a half shell either.
You're not a ninja turtle.
Yeah, or the nunchucks or anything. So here's why this is so crazy. I actually am like a big turtle guy. I have a pet tortoise. And so I'm just walking around. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to make friends out there. And this guy has
Owen Schroyer is a beast.
Cool drawing. I mean, it looks like he drew it himself. Pretty good artist. And it's a turtle. It's like a drawing of a turtle. I'm like, hey, dude, that's a cool turtle. I like turtles. Did you draw that yourself? And he starts going off onto this rant about how we live on Turtle Island and we're all turtles. I mean,
That's how you know he's mentally ill.
It was a lost cause, and as you just saw, the problem here is that you don't realize you're a turtle.
But now I know. So we're good.
So see, this is the kind of ground that was broken yesterday at Savannah's rally. I mean, we've all discovered, but see, this is good because we
Did you see Savannah hit check that bitch? Oh my God! I think I just busted in my pants.
Right.
And we're all one turtle.
She might be hotter than Leanne McAboos.
For the turtles. And so this is just us in our natural habitat. You thought you were a human this whole time, but you were actually a turtle.
Well, hopefully you don't end up in a Wuhan wet market or something like that since you're a turtle. That seems like the logical progression.
Or now,
COVID-21, the turtle virus.
In the ocean, and you may get caught up in a mask that was littered and thrown into the ocean, and then you may suffocate from the mask. So we've got a whole slate of issues to deal with now that we're turtles. And I don't know what we're going to do about it. But we'll figure it out.
I'm a shark, not a turtle, son.
Pivot here. There was a lot of weirdness in Hollywood as far as news is concerned last night. Now, obviously, we don't really follow Hollywood. I don't care about these people. But if you follow the Q movement, there's this whole thing about how all the Hollywood people are about to go down.
Q for queers.
Pedophilia. Now, InfoWars has been reporting on the pedophilia in Hollywood for decades. But now this whole Q movement has it going viral, and it can't really be banned like they banned InfoWars. Anyway, the point is, first let's play clip 11. Now, this is Ben Jacobs, or Ben Anderson, I think is the name. He's the lead singer-songwriter of Imagine Dragons. Now, I don't know if he's being serious about this or if he's joking about this, but he posted this video on social media last
We're
night.
about to find out, aren't we? I'll let you know what I think.
This song was made by Turtles, by the way. Created and sung by Turtles, for Turtles, in Turtle Island.
Quick, clean, get it done with. Doesn't matter that I signed a blood oath. Doesn't matter anymore. The Illuminati's real. I'm a member. It's how Imagine Dragons got famous. I'm tired of the politics.
He's high on something. Look at his eyes, dead eyes. He's tweaking.
Even full honesty, and Beyonce is not talking. Chris Martin, nobody's saying a word. So
talking fast, tweaking.
There. All the details.
He's on it, son.
The president, Elon Musk, vice president, Harry Styles, treasurer, Beyonce, Taylor Swift is historian, and that's all I know.
Okay, so again, I don't know if he's serious or if he's trolling or whatever.
He is fucking tweaking, bro. Can you not tell? Have you ever been tweaking?
Johnny Depp saying that Amber Heard said James Franco was a racist as he's howling out of a car window on a cocaine bender. Like, this is all coming out. You have the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff coming.
I mean, who hasn't yelled the N-word out the fucking window when they're high on cocaine?
Lake, her 4-year-old still on the boat. This all happened in like a 24-hour span. So anyway, I didn't even know that.
Is that fucking Flavor Flav? Damn, he's getting ugly. Look at that clock. It's getting smaller every year.
Record, I have it. But you said you actually know a bit behind the scenes history of, coming up in the music industry of Imagine Dragons. I didn't even know that before I played the clip. What do you make of that clip? What do you think about Imagine Dragons?
Very strange.
Smokes crack.
And I can't say that I know them in any way, but there is a tiny bit of history that I could contribute to that, and maybe people can put 2 and 2 together and make 4 if that's still okay. But when I was in a band in California for many years, there was a show we were playing, and a friend of mine.
Remember, son, always cover all your cameras with a fucking piece of tape until you're ready to use them.
In town, I forget exactly what the circumstances were, and this is prior to them having the name Imagine Dragons. It used to be called something else. So we were playing a show. They were playing a show. I think I might have checked them out, and then kind of forgot about them. And then I heard from this mutual friend that they had changed their name to Imagine Dragons. And we were both kind of up-and-coming bands, I would say, and probably in a similar place, not well-known, but, playing some decent shows in L.A. And then it was like overnight that Imagine Dragons was everywhere, instantaneous. And, to see a fellow band who was kind of at the same level you were at.
What happens when you sell your soul to the devil, son?
Getting to fame, and, maybe it was because they wrote some catchy tunes, but you do kind of wonder, like, why are the ones that really make it? Where does the, what's the magic dust that brings them up to that level? So we were all kind of questioning at the time, how did they surge so quickly, so fast, and with the name change and all that. So that was just a little interesting kind of thing that maybe you could could tie to that possibly.
Yeah, a little background there. And again, I was just reading into people's responses to what they thought about this. I don't really listen to Imagine Dragons much, so I mean, I've heard some of their hits. They do top the charts a lot. But a lot of people were saying, hey, now their lyrics make sense to me, or I always kind of figured that they were trying to fight the system. Again, who knows? He could be just totally...
Imagine faggots.
You know, it could be a joke video. Still, I just think, you know, with all the stuff going down in Hollywood, all the stuff we know about what goes down in this industry for people to become successful, you know, that's the other thing too, Dan. Like, once you get behind the scenes of any industry, you kind of see how the sausage is made, right? Like, okay, do you want to be successful as a... or what, depending what people would say, successful as a conservative commentator, well, you're going to have to sell out to some people. And the people that don't sell out never make it on Fox News. That's kind of like the number one, that's like the number one measure. And I'm not saying everybody on Fox News is bad, obviously. I'm just saying there's a reason why Michael Savage is never on there, why Alex Jones is never on there. So it's kind of the same thing. Like, how do they determine who makes it big in music and who doesn't? Because I'm sure you, just like me, when you go and you don't listen to radio or the chart toppers and you just go listen for music, you find all kinds of great bands and music out there that's better than anything you ever hear on the radio. And you're just like, how come these guys aren't playing sold out shows?
Right, exactly. And the music that is on the radio, it's like the same, at least with like, you know, top 40 American modern radio, it's the same songs over and over and over. They don't even give anyone else a chance, you know, one song at a time maybe. So you do wonder who gets picked and why. And, you know, coming up through the music industry myself, we were expected to do weird things that not that we ever did, but we were told, hey, if you want this record deal, they might ask you to do this, or if you want this, they're known to ask you to do this. And we said, you know, every step along the way, absolutely not. But there are plenty of other bands, other people, other musicians or actors that are quite comfortable doing very strange things to get to the next level.
And that's kind of just like they slowly chip away, like, oh, what are we willing to get them to do? What are we willing to get them to do? The next thing you know, they're on, you know, Epstein Island or the Lolita Express, and then it's just, you're totally bought in at that point. Or, you know, you're meeting with Marina Abramovich, having a spirit cooking or some sort of sacrifice. So it's good, though, we are not on that team. I'm glad I've never experienced a spirit cooking with Marina Abramovich. I think I would lose my turtle status if I did that. This is how you cancel your turtle status right here. That's just freaky stuff. Robert Trump, Donald Trump's brother, now has a Twitter account. Now, I don't know if it's real or not. Obviously, there's no way to know if it's real or not. If it's real, it's Big Bob Trump, I think is the handle, guys, if you want to pull it up. If it's real, if it's actually Donald Trump's brother, this is one of the most glorious things in Twitter history. And he may be unbannable, considering he's the president's brother. If it's not, which I think it's more likely just somebody that made the account, then it's probably going to get banned soon. But this account just started a couple days ago, and it's already catching fire and just putting out hilarious, nuanceical comedy about Hollywood, like John Legend is really gay, and, you know, all these people are blackmailed and funny stuff like that. So I don't know if it's really the brother or not, but man, if it is, this is one of the most glorious Twitter campaigns I have ever seen in a long time. Hashtag Uncle Rob. Oh, man. So it's just part of the craziness that we're covering here. But, you know, one of the industries I did kind of see behind, and really there's not much, this is one of the most glorious Twitter campaigns I have ever seen in a long time. Hashtag Uncle Rob. Oh, man. So it's just part of the craziness that we're covering here. But, you know.
And that's what I was waiting for. I'm not saying Alyssa Milano is a lesbian. I'm saying the lesbians say she's a lesbian. Too bad I was banned from Twitter and I don't feel like going back, but this shit's hilarious.
One of the industries I did kind of see behind, and really there's really not much there other than just how many sports are rigged, but it is definitely controlled by the left. And so you're starting to see some athletes or former coaches.
Of course, most of Twitter's owned by China. Reddit's owned by China. TikTok's owned by China. Look it up. I'll take my word for it.
Winning. You just had Tony Dungy put up this, which is not really saying his politics, but when he puts up a prayer to God, still there's a lot of people that hate that. He knew what he was doing when he put that up. And I'm hoping that this cultural shift happens, Dan. I guess that's what this comes down to. I'm really hoping this cultural shift happens and that conservatives who are in sports or in Hollywood or in the music industry or wherever stop hiding behind a mask, if you will, or stop hiding behind the industry or hiding behind your piles of cash as your justification for keeping your politics in. Because that's really the only way I think we can win hearts and minds in mass to kind of go against this New World Order, open borders, globalist, communist movement, is if some of these icons that are idolized in society start to say, hey, no, it doesn't have to be this way. Hey, no, not everybody feels this way. And then some of the young kids, some of the in-between people can actually have a legitimate choice and see both sides of the coin.
Right, absolutely. Because you see in pop culture and all that, which we just transitioned out of, now we're into sports, these are the people that really, they do shape the minds of the youth in the United States and in plenty of other countries as well. But at this point, the echo chamber is so, it's just like you get the same message from every corner of society. All the people that they look up to are all promoting the same things. So they just, if you don't know any better and you're 12 or 13 years old and all you know is your favorite, rap star or your favorite basketball player or whatever, and they're all saying the same exact thing, then all you're going to know is that, and you're going to say, okay, well, that's really the only way to think. And I think that's very important that we have people stand up against that and just say, no, there's a completely other way to think. And it's fine if there's a debate, if there's both sides, that's great. But it can't just be this echo chamber forever.
Let's just stick on some of this cultural stuff. I have a whole stack of this right here. College threatens you. Oh, you may have seen this. A young girl at Marquette University, Samantha Pfefferly, puts up a video. Did you see this of her supporting Trump? Basically, she gets bullied, I guess, at school for her Trump support. She puts up like a 15-second video, nothing offensive at all. It's just her dancing with a Trump sign. Well, now she's been threatened by Marquette University to rescind her admission because she's pro-Trump. I mean, how do people not see that this is the real fascism? How do people not see where the real Nazi ideologies and practices are being executed?
Yeah, I mean, this should be a wake-up call to everyone. The nice thing about this whole Corona thing is that there are everything is being impacted for the better or for the worse, depending on how you choose to look at it. So you see the cancel culture is in full throw, right? Very, very powerful right now. But at the same time, academia is taking a huge hit monetarily with enrollments and all that. Sports as well, they don't have revenue coming in from attendance at the game. So they're taking a huge hit as well. And I think the effects are just beginning to be felt. It's just the beginning. And then you have a lot of people moving over to homeschooling. You have, and what that will all entail, you have a lot of people go straight from homeschooling into, honest professions rather than trying to be the next YouTube star or whatever. So I think that this huge cultural shift, we don't know how it's going to play out yet. And I think that the way that they're attacking, individuals on this level and, banning them from colleges because they're Trump supporters, whatever, that's going to create some good opportunities as well at the same time. Maybe a total schism in the way that the American population functions in the future. It's going to change a lot.
Well, and I was in youth development in St. Louis, and I would constantly get questions from young kids in high school about college, and I would always give the same advice. Look, college is not for everybody. The system tells you have to go to college. That is an outright lie. And the one thing I would tell them, I would say, look, if you have parents that want to send you to college, then they can afford it. You're not going to go into debt. Okay, that's one thing. Take advantage of it. Or the smarter thing to do, and if I was this young girl, I'd give her this advice right now. Whatever money you were planning on spending in college or your family was planning on spending your college education, put that in a bank account and start a business. You'll be 10 times better off. And the market is so open right now for new.
This guy fucking gets it.
And at-home services. I mean, you can start a successful business if you play it right. It's not the best market ever, but there's niche.
Maybe you spend some time in business school, which is not college. Go to a trade school.
Much better off spent. These college universities have turned into nothing but indoctrination centers.
Bingo.
Graduated college. But, it's the same thing with this girl.
This guy gets it, and he went to fucking college.
Same
Got a
reason why they
degree.
hate Caitlin Bennett. Same reason why they hate this girl. She's a strong, confident, bright girl who's not afraid of the mob, and those are the ones they go after the most because those are the leaders of tomorrow that they know will defeat them. It's like in the Dark Crystal. It's why the Skeksis always go after the Gelfling because they know the Gelfling is what's going to bring them down. They know it's confident, good-looking women that are going to ultimately defeat them. That's why they go after them and tell them to cut their hair off and turn themselves into men.
And it's always a mob attacking an individual. And that's the same way that you see these street attacks from BLM or Antifa. It's always a mob attacking an individual because they don't have the courage to face one-on-one. They don't have the arguments to make. And they're very cowardly and groupthink type people. They have leanings toward that. And then, once they're all together, they just, it's like a feeding frenzy. They're like piranhas.
Yeah, like a piranhas or something, like when the blood is in the water. But you know what? We can celebrate now. We can celebrate now because we have just solved so many of the problems in this country, specifically dealing with race. So I've got good news for you guys today. Scrabble tournaments look to ban racial and ethnic slurs from the Scrabble tournaments up to as many as 200 words. 238 words they're saying will be unlearned and removed from Scrabble tournaments. So this is a huge...
Damn it, you know how many points Knicker is worth?
And not book burning at all, but this will certainly, the North American Scrabble Players Association, the NASPA, as it's famously known, everybody knows that, has decided
No more spick, no more kike, no more fucking
We've really taken a big chunk out of racism now.
pinche mayate.
And if they really want to go the full distance, they need to make sure that they follow the new AP style book. And if you're going to spell white in Scrabble, it better be lowercase, and if you're going to spell black in Scrabble, it better be a capital B.
I've had people send me stuff, and I've seen it, and I've just not gone into it because it's just like, but it's real, folks. They literally capitalize black and not white now. It's I don't know. It is what it is. All right, final crazy thing I want to get into, and again, this isn't because I care about Hollywood per se, or I'm
no, it's all about brainwashing. You want me to show you?
Amber Heard. The reason why I cover this, folks, because
no, let me show you. Let's not fuck around. You want to know why this shit's happening? I'm gonna learn. Please believe. So this is what I do, son. Boom, there it is. Read that shit. Give it a few seconds. Look at the web address. Look at the title. Google it. DuckDuckGo it. Whatever you gotta do. I'm gonna give you a second.
and I'm not even attacking these people. It just shows how miserable these people are. All the glitz, all the glam, all the money, and you look at Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's personal life, and I feel bad, man.
Don't fuck around, dude. Johnny Depp got ass raped, divorce raped by this fucking worthless piece of shit bitch. She beat the fuck out of him. Just look the shit up. Look at the facts. Read the fucking documents. Read all of the documents and look it up. This is why you don't want to get married to a feminist or pretty much any woman these days. You got to recon the mom and dad.
Drug abuse, physical abuse, sex abuse, crazy accusations, and then like with other actors and
I guarantee you Amber Heard was raised by a single mother. I'll bet $1 million right now that she was raised by a single mother.
And actresses too. So, you know, who knows what's real and what's not, but as far as, you know, who's accusing who of what with James Franco and all this other stuff. But here's what's clearly real to me. These are not happy people. If you have to bomb your head out on drugs, if you're in relationships that are abusive.
If you're in a relationship with a woman that's crazy as fuck, you might become a drunk or a drug addict or some other shit. You can't see your kid or some shit. You know what I'm saying? He must have had a crazy ass mama. She must have come from a broken family. He must have come from a broken family. That's why they're all fucked up.
I mean,
John don't hear me.
It kind of shows a window into what is a large portion of Hollywood. Behind the glitz and glam, it's really depressing.
Miserable people. I don't know if that tweet, if you have that tweet available, they showed Johnny Depp's lunch. Did you have that one?
Yeah, I believe the picture. Yeah, right there.
And then his condition after lunch. I mean,
yeah.
These are the people that young people are looking up to, or did at least lunch. Did you have that one?
Yeah, I believe the picture. Yeah, right there.
And then his condition after lunch. I mean,
come on, asshole, slow it down a little bit so we can fucking read it. Keith Richards CD, paraphernalia, tobacco, whiskey, Depp branded drug box, 4 lines of cocaine, driver's license. Why would you need a driver's license? If I'm Johnny Depp, the fucking limo driver can deal with the driver's license. Alright, everything but that's cool. Next.
Yeah. These are the people that young people are looking up to, or did at least in our generation in many ways, and said,
why do you think he's all fucked up like this? Because his wife's acting like a crazy bitch. 9 times out of 10. Let me let you know. You want to let me know? You want to ask me some questions? Let me know in the comments. I'll prove it to you. I got facts.
oh, I wish I had that life. I wish I was that guy. I wish I was even Jack Sparrow, you know, whatever. And you realize these people they're dead inside, unfortunately.
Well, the price of selling your soul to the devil is your soul. And so that's what you get. Dan, great to see you, brother. Glad that you're here back home in the United States of America. And we hope we get it treated right now that he's back on Turtle Island where he belongs. Oh, real quick, are there any Black Lives Matter protests in Switzerland?
A few in the cities.
Really? There's like no black people there.
There's a few.
Okay, Dan Lyman, InfoWars Europe, folks. All right, I am withholding a lot right now because I want to wait till my third-hour guest, Brandon Gray, is in studio to discuss just the nonsense with the masks and what happened at City Council today with me there. You heard the clip in the first segment. We may play it again. And then what I didn't get to. But what we are seeing, and this is good news, and here's kind of the separation. Sheriffs are elected, and police unions and police chiefs and stuff are basically controlled politically, which means if you're in a major metropolitan area, the Democrats run the police, the city council runs the police, whereas the sheriff is elected by the people and is actually working with the people and reflects what the people are thinking and saying and doing. And so that's why you're seeing all these sheriff's unions and actually police officers too. I mean, you've seen some police officers enforce illegal mask orders, but overall not. But here is the Texas sheriffs, some Texas sheriffs here, again, it's also in Florida and others, saying they will not be enforcing this illegal mask mandate.
During this pandemic, but some Americans refuse to wear them. This video shows one man's rage
yeah, we're Americans.
at Costco after an elderly woman asked him to wear a mask. Similar scenes have played out across the country. In Texas, where cases are skyrocketing, a growing number of sheriff's departments
no, they're not.
Goddamn right. We're tired of this shit. We know it's bullshit. We're not a bunch of fucking punks.
Just pause real quick, guys. It's okay. This is why this is so frustrating, folks. They just put this propaganda out there, and if you're not informed and you haven't done all the deep research, it's like the whole life is a test.
Dude, if a Karen comes up to you and talks shit to you, headbutt the bitch and run out with a mask, run out to the other side of the store. Who gives a shit?
He literally doesn't know. He just reads off a teleprompter when he gets out of
Kick a Chad in the fucking chest.
His bald head, and he reads off a teleprompter. And he goes on there and he says, Texas cases are skyrocketing. Because they're testing everybody, they're multiplying it by 16, and the tests aren't even accurate. But none of that's included. It's just, oh, cases are skyrocketing, and then you just assume the worst. All right, go back to the video.
I told him, look, you're adults, you make your own choices.
But now, Pastor Ron Arbaugh is full of regret after allowing members to embrace when his church, Calvary Chapel in Universal City, Texas, reopened in May. More than 50 people who were there have coronavirus, including Arbaugh's wife and the pastor himself.
I wish I could go back and make a different decision now.
No, he's obviously fine. He's doing the interview. It's like Chris Cuomo. Oh, I've got COVID. He's on air.
Half his congregants were wearing masks. It was well before Governor Greg Abbott's mandate to wear them.
See, so it's, oh, we should have had the mask.
Authorities to fine repeat offenders as much as $250 for not wearing a face covering in public spaces.
No, you can't. That's illegal.
Or outdoors, where social distancing isn't possible. Violators can't be jailed or detained, and police in several counties have said they will not enforce the ruling.
Good.
We're asking for self-compliance from our citizens.
Nacogdoches Sheriff Jason Bridges says he doesn't want to write citations, but deputies will remind people of the order.
We believe in science. We're not anti-mask. Our jail staff has been wearing masks back in the jail since this thing has started. We have seen the prevention of what it's helped keep the coronavirus out of the Nacogdoches County Jail, so we know that it works.
Even though it
But
doesn't
masks
really work.
continue to be a divisive issue. On Tuesday, the Texas Education Agency announced it will require masks for teachers and students older than 10 who attend in-person classes this fall. Some parents are opposed to it, but everyone should get used to it, says the CEO of the Texas Medical Center.
We're the only ones that can stop it. So really,
Oh, I wonder if this guy's getting COVID payouts.
or a couple of months.
Think this guy's making any cash off COVID? 13 grand a head?
Some of the sheriffs refusing to enforce the mask order say they simply don't have the resources to do so. Here
or the law.
In San Antonio, there was a mask order in effect well before the governor's order when social distancing is not possible, rather. And if you walk
Yeah, then they grabbed me by the arms and threw me out of the city hall. No social distancing there.
sign on the door stating it clearly. No mask, no service.
Can here's the funniest thing about this. Like people that don't like InfoWars in my opinion, like, oh, how do you sleep? How do I sleep at night? How do they sleep at night? How do these agents of propaganda sleep at night? I sleep fine. We played the clip, folks. I don't know if Tom Pappert is woke yet. I don't know how woke Tom Pappert is, if he's realized he's a turtle yet. But look, this is the breaking news, folks. We're all turtles. We're on Turtle Island. And the sooner we can come together as turtles, the better. We'll stop polluting the oceans. We'll stop thinking about all these race issues and identity politics, and we'll just focus on floating along in the current of the ocean and just enjoying ourselves, enjoying the ocean splendor. So
Where the turtles at?
that's right. We're right here, live on the InfoWars War Room is Raw. Now joined by Tom Pappert from National File. Tom, I mean, you learn so much listening to protesters. There's so much you can learn, including learning that you're actually a turtle. So, here we are coming together finally, turtles in a half shell.
Well, I have been behaving a lot like a turtle lately, Owen. It is starting to make sense. Ever since the mask order came down, I've just been hiding in my shell-like apartment.
Mitch McConnell's been embracing this for a while.
Decades, in fact. He's been a turtle with his expanding neck pouch. That's a little bit of an evolutionary advantage that he has.
I'm sorry, because you went into your shell. Tom Pappert's been hiding in his shell during COVID. It reminds you of Dana Carvey. Am I not turtle enough for the Turtle Club? I mean, this is serious stuff here.
No, these people are completely insane. That's been the most interesting thing. You do wonder if in previous Marxist revolutions, like in the Soviet Union or wherever across the world, if we'd only had smartphones, if we'd only had the internet, would we have known that the original Leninists were a bunch of bumbling imbeciles? Or is this a new thing? Is it just in America in 2020 these people are complete and utter morons?
Or did the brown shirts know that they were going to get murdered, aka BLM and Antifa, by their own fucking handlers? Even look at the fucking Bolsheviks in Russia. They were murdered. The brown shirts in that country were murdered by their own handlers. Even China. History repeats itself.
Morons. I honestly don't know. Maybe it's a new development, but I have a hunch they've always been this stupid, but now we have cameras.
Yeah, cameras on our phones and everywhere. So, yeah, it does spy on us 24/7 for the...
Yeah, put a piece of tape over every fucking camera you have. Electrical tape. Over my fucking laptop, over my fucking smartphone, over everything. Put it on there now. Until you gotta use it, then you pull it off, then you put it back on.
The Chinese and the globalists and the deep state. But you know what? We also get to capture amazing footage of learning that we're all turtles from Turtle Island. And that's definitely a positive. All right, before we get into some of this news with Tom Pappert, folks, again, InfoWarsStore.com. Cannot thank you enough for your support. It's how everything here is possible. Take advantage right now. The extended July 4th special, free shipping store-wide at InfoWarsStore.com. So emergency food, you don't have it yet, now's the time to get it because it's a heavier item, it's expensive to ship. We're covering those costs. So get your emergency food today at InfoWarsStore.com. If you don't have an air filter, if you don't have a water filter, again, heavier items, expensive to ship, we're covering those costs at InfoWarsStore.com. And if you haven't tried the great supplements, now is also the time. Big sales on some of the top sellers like Bodies. Read all the great reviews for yourself. DNA Force Plus, the elite flagship supplement from InfoWarsStore.com. Other people have tried to mimic it. They've never been able to do it. We still have DNA Force Plus at InfoWarsStore.com, and it's 50% off right now. So hop on over to InfoWarsStore.com and try it for yourself. All right, Tom. Boy, I don't know where to begin, so I'm going to ask you, what is the latest at National File? And actually, in fact, the crew may have let me know. I guess Howley just had a big interview with Jeff Sessions.
We did. We had an interview with Jeff Sessions yesterday morning. It took some coaxing, and it was very fascinating, a very informative interview. Of course, Sessions is running against this character, Tuberville, who has not been vetted whatsoever. If you ask me, it's a
whoa. He had a very successful college football record in the SEC.
Well,
this is football country.
It was so successful, in fact, that he was allowed to, I believe that 2 students were being accused of a crime. I can't remember if it was rape or sexual assault or what. And he gave them a 1-day suspension from a game so that they could get back on the field and score the points and win the day and get the college athletic funding for his school. So obviously this guy has strict moral character. I guess he's never donated